we gotta talk about Vans. We're in the warehouse. It's Brooklyn. It's an industrial part of town. You'll hear background noise. Last year, this year, I would say probably for the past like 3 or 4 years, honestly. If you're into anything sneaker or fashion related, you've seen Vans come up a lot lately. They're on a crazy run. They've been coming back super strong. The Pearl Pack, the souvenir ones, like the Chanel bag joints, even like the color blocks. This is my personal favorite. For a company that's mostly known just for their staples, this is a perfect example of why little things go such a long way. Back in 2020, when I started producing my own footwear, one of the reasons that my company took such a strong hold was people were just bored of normal shit. We were able to take classic silhouettes and give them the crazy materials, treatments, more interesting elements, funky laces, all the shit that could get you talking about a brand or get you into something that you might not have tried otherwise. It's a perfect example of a big corporation or a big brand doing what we were doing at a larger scale. Something like the Pearl Pack is a perfect example. This isn't some crazy premium material or enhanced construction. It's literally just embellishments and a little bit of a treatment. It's the most viral, sought after thing. I had a pair of the black Pearl Vans, the first ones that came out. I bought them resale for like $200. I took them on a China trip when I was visiting my manufacturers, wore them a bunch. I literally left them in the hotel room over there because I was like, oh, I'll just get another pair if I want another pair. These are running to the ground. By the time I looked for those again, they were reselling for like $1,000. This is essentially a normal pair of Vans going for $1,000. You can see what these little details can do, even for such a big company or such an iconic silhouette. My relationship with Vans, when I was a kid, I didn't have a bunch of money. When I first started making my own money, I think the first pair of skate shoes I ever bought with my own money, instead of, your parents get you a pair of shoes for Christmas or whatever. First pair of shoes I bought with my own money, I'm pretty sure was a pair of Vans. I think half cabs specifically. Half cabs I used to call the cheat codes. It was like my favorite skate shoe. I thought nothing could be better than that. Their accessible price point, their quality for the price. It's just a solid company, started for skaters, by skaters. It's something that resonated with me since I was young. Over the years, I would buy just whatever was on sale. Supras, Osiris, DC, Lakai. Vans kind of were off to the side, but periodically I was getting half cabs. If I really was going in and I wanted to film some crazy clips or whatever, I'd get half cabs because, like I said, I call them the cheat codes. Years passed by, I would say Vans are always popular, obviously, but they were never at the forefront of, a sneaker collector's catalog or whatever. When I started getting real money, when I moved to New York, was bartending, I started upping my sneaker collection, getting more exotic shit. Still, even then, I was getting Vans here and there because I was skating. I wanted something like that. And plus, they're unique. Something like the half cab specifically, there is no other brand that makes that shoe. Something like a Stan Smith, an Air Force One, these other iconic shoes from other companies, Chuck Taylor's, so many other brands go and make those themselves so you can find that silhouette other places. Vans was really good at making iconic shit that was just specific to them. If you wanted that, you were gonna have to go there for the most part. Again, years pass by, the Vans popularity rises and falls, little waves. For the most part, you'll find people will kind of hit their niche. They'll be like a Jordan head or a Dunk head or rocking shit like Stan Smiths, like a bunch of European people like that slimmer shape. And there's a lot of people that it's just like Vans is just what they do. So I would say the modern resurgence of Vans, craze around Vans, I would say really started with the Pearl Pack. I think that was the first Vans shoe that really was like going crazy on resale markets, selling out immediately, and it quickly became the thing that they like blew way out. Once they came around with the blue and the brown ones, which I still love all these, I got bit by the bug too, so I'm getting them. Once they came out with these, people started to get tired of them, whatever. But initially, those were the ones that really started to catch people's attention. It was during this rhinestone craze. Everybody was putting rhinestones all over every pair of shorts and jacket, like Satoshi Nakamoto type vibe. And then you had those collabs, like the initial Pearl Vans, I think were a Satoshi Nakamoto like green pair, which still is the best one. And then Vans just turned around and made the black ones and the white one more general release versions of these hype collabs. That's the one thing that's different from a lot of smaller brands to these big corporations. Like if you do a collaboration with the big corporations, they'll do yours limited to get that hype up, but they're going to turn around and make a couple million off of whatever looks like the one you did with them. It's happened with mini Jordans, mini Air Forces, many Vans, many Adidas. It's kind of the model that they do, even with the Yeezy shit. Yeezy has such a specific design language. Now all of a sudden Adidas is just making shit that looks like Yeezy shit. The Pearl Pack, I feel like, really like sparked it off. And then the next thing that I kind of noticed, this designer Betty's. If you're not familiar, he's like really the one who, from what I can tell, made most of your favorite modern Vans. This is the guy who made the Chanel bag Vans. I think they call them the souvenir Vans. He drove a lot of the like mohair stuff, a lot of the more interesting textures and shapes and paint splatters. He'll post on his Instagram, I think he's since left Vans, but he'll put on his Instagram different reference points he had, why the models were coming out the way they were. It's just a good example of how a smaller guy, like this is just some designer, this isn't some storied Tinker Hatfield character, this is just some like smaller, newer designer, is coming in with that fresh perspective that we had with our brand, taking these classics, throwing that slight twist on them, and just mixing in shit that we know we love. The Chanel bag and the Pearl Vans are the perfect examples of that. You're taking rhinestones, embellishments, pearls, you know, studs, put it on a familiar silhouette. Like, it's not rocket science. Graffiti bag, like one of the most notorious or famous, whatever the word is, bags in fashion and streetwear culture. Throw it on Vans. And for real, that was so impactful because that was really one of the first times we've seen these corporations take that kind of little guy punk approach. It might be looked at as like cheap or copying, but they took this reference point, maybe a customizer or a smaller footwear company would incorporate in their design. They took it and put it at this crazy scale with the best execution. I think you got to remember about these big corporations, they have decades of research and development and relationships with these manufacturers. If I have an idea that I want to execute on our footwear, luckily I'm going to China, I'm speaking with our manufacturers, I'm hands-on to be able to make these things the way we want them. But a lot of smaller companies don't have this same network and firepower to make these big ideas. For example, on the Pearl Pack, it's kind of an oversimplification to just say it's studded and treated. They do have these little markings in here, distress points re-stitched over, even down to the way it's studied in. A lot of these pairs I've worn and worn and worn, and a couple studs have fallen out and things like that, but it takes a real direct hit to knock them out. For the most part, if you're doing normal wearing these things, they're built right. It's an example of why these big corporations can capitalize so hard off of these ideas, because they can see that idea all the way through to what you want it to be. There's been clothing items that I've made before, for example, the Great Pants. This is a sample pair of the Great Pants. They're based on these sewer grates that we found in Japan. This is a fire, just plain salvage pair. But I bring those up to say my initial idea for those was to make a pant that legitimately looked like the Great. I wanted to do a certain wash and treatment that looked like an aged, rusted, old sewer grate, because I don't have years and years in the game and so much time and money to spend into development before putting it out. I really only could get away with making a black pair, making a nice wash pair, a nice faded pair, but it's taking so long to actually achieve that full finished idea where they can do an idea like the souvenir Vans and actually see it all the way through, because the way they can execute is at a higher level. It's a bigger corporation, more money, better relationships, all the things. So because you have young guys like Betty's coming in with these fresh ideas, not starting his own brand, he's going in and actually working with these big corporations, and they have the firepower to see these crazy ideas all the way through, you're getting this big resurgence in Vans. They're hitting all the little notes that are all on trend or whatever you want to say, and they're seeing them through to the highest level. I've been having fun customizing them again. Back in 2018, I did my first pair of custom Vans. That was my first really like viral post. I only had like 300 followers at the time. All the following was just normal people shit. Friends from back home or family members. I remember posting a couple customs early on. Posts would get like 40 likes or something. Nobody was really looking at them or caring about it. But over time, I started getting better. It started developing into something. I made this one pair of custom Vans. It was actually for Chris Brickley. He's like a NBA trainer. He trains like LeBron and people like that. I made this custom pair of black Vans with the yellow dip, kind of like these ones right here, but I cut the wave off from the inside glued it onto the outside so it was like a little double thing, put some pull tabs. It was just like a dope little custom, and for whatever reason, I think SneakerCon found that, reposted it. Overnight, I went from like 300 followers to 3,000. Obviously, 3,000 followers now, not the most impressive thing. At the time, I was convinced I was famous. I was convinced I was going to be rich. I quit my job at the restaurant I was working at. I went all in on the custom shit. It didn't work out at first. It took me years and years to actually make money off of it, but it's just a cool little piece to the story that Vans were the shoe to kind of set it off for me. It makes sense too, being a skater, having the story I have with Vans, for them to be the shoe that really set it off for me. It's kind of special. It's dope that Vans are getting so much love right now. As much as I hate these big corporations, I struggle sometimes when I support these big companies like this. A lot of them go against my moral values. I'd just rather spend my money with brands like my own, homies brands or smaller brands. The money goes a lot further in those companies, and a lot of the time you'll get way more thorough product, way more well thought out shit, stuff that's way more of what I'm into. But when you get people like Betty's working at Vans, he's gonna bring that to them. Like I said, I've been having fun customizing these again. I even did this crazy pair of Authentics with the stars and everything. It's fun when they're making dope product, because the other thing about Vans, they would always make some different checkered things or some wild colors or some goofy prints. Really only recently did they start leaning into upping the materials and the treatments and everything. It boosts the creativity of everyone. It inspires people like me to start setting things like this off. This honestly was also inspired by those LV Vans. You see people like Pharrell at Louis Vuitton making Vans knockoffs, and I seen Tyler Creator said it's not knocking off Vans, it's knocking off boat shoes in general. As much as he might be right about that, you know Pharrell has a very specific and iconic relationship with Vans. It's obviously him having love for Vans. This custom kind of got inspired by that like brown pair. It's got the little embellishments on that. I kind of went off that to make these little extra stars. For me, it's fun. I have my releases in place with my brand. I'm doing bigger projects, but in the meantime, I'm in the warehouse. I have the time, I have the resources. It's fun for me to get off little projects like that. And these, I want to talk about these too. Being a super sneaker nerd and a sneaker collector and everything, I used to double up on like every shoe I got. I'd buy a pair of Jordans, I'd have to get the fresh pair. And then I found myself year after year having shoes pile up, and I'm never really doing anything with them, and I never want to wear the second pair because then I feel like I'd have to get another pair that would be crispy. So I kind of stopped doubling up, even sold off a lot of my doubles. Honestly, if you go into my like closet at my house, it's always rotating. Like I don't keep many items for a long time. I like to sell them off, get new ones, sell them off, and just keep things pushing. There are some items that I'll have forever, but most things I keep it moving. This is my first double up pair that I've got of any shoe in a long time. If there was ever a shoe where you would ask yourself, yo, what is like a Donnie shoe, is this right here. Skate silhouette. It's got all the best tones, navy blue instead of some bright ass crazy blue. It's got that mustard yellow, maroon, brown. I've been into browns and tans and everything like that lately. From every angle, this shoe has colors that I love, and it's in the old school 36 shape. 36 is way better than the normal old school. You can see on there that toe cap is way shorter. This is a little too like long and pointy. The old school 36 was their original shape they did when they did the original pair of Vans. This was their like revamp, which has become like the staple Van. This is that OG kind of stub toe shape, which I way prefer. It's got the wacky laces. Most Vans have this black line running through the midsole. It kind of breaks up the midsole and makes it look a little bit less substantial. Most people like that. It's a nice little pop of color in there, a nice little detail. These don't have that, which I've worn these out and had homies specifically say to me, oh, it looks like that's like almost like a platform Vans. It's not. It's the same deal. It's just minus that black line, and it gives it that kind of like chunky old school skate look, which I fuck with heavy. It's still a slim shoe, but it's kind of got that stubby, chunky vibe. I just fucking love these. I've always liked Authentics, but even they are way slimmer and longer and pointier feeling and looking. They have no padding in the ankle collar. These have that little bit of padding. So these are kind of a challenge for me to wear sometimes, but these definitely on my top 10 if I was doing a sneaker of the year list, maybe even top 5. So like I said, I've been having fun customizing Vans again lately, and I believe for the first time since 2020, we're putting all 12 of these colorways up on the site this Friday. some easy wears for summer. In this Vans craze, you go out, everybody's in the Pro Pack. This is something that'll give you that Vans silhouette and something you know nobody else is gonna have on. Also, I'm looking forward to these next samples we're getting in. We're working on this skate shoe right now that's kind of a mix between like classic Chucks and Vans. One of my trend predictions, or whatever you want to call it, like Vans are having this crazy resurgence right now, I think Chucks are due too, for similar reasons to Vans, and it's gonna take somebody like Betty's at Converse to really push dope ideas through. That sweet spot of like classic silhouette, but the slimmer side of the classic silhouettes, like instead of Jordans and Air Forces, kind of Chucks and Vans, I think is where we're gonna be and stay the next like 2-3 years. We have a skate shoe that's kind of in that zone that we're working on, so I'm excited to show you guys that too. So I'm almost done editing this video, and it's got me thinking. I'm curious what stories y'all have about Vans. You have similar stories to me as a kid. It's like your first shoe that you bought. What sneakers over the years you've really liked. I got one homie out on the West Coast. He's got a crazy Vans collection. He's got all types of exotic, weird Vans stuff. If you got any cool Vans shit, drop it in the comments and let me know if there's any other sneakers that have had that impact on you. It doesn't have to be Vans, it could be anything else. Could even be our brand. It could be Dibbix, Skyrats, whatever. I always love hearing people's like early sneaker stories. There's something about when you were a kid getting to know these types of things that just hits so different. The double up is real. This pair has definitely seen better days. You know, we got that crispy pair waiting.